Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 100k subscribers on this channel by the end of the year, so your subscription would be much appreciated. Damn, that was a quick intro. Look at me go. Today's video is going to be one of a series of videos that's going to be on this channel, which is a little bit of something different, where I am doing videos for each NBA award, and then I'm going to use these videos and like the discussion that's had as like supplementary stuff to make a award prediction video in total that we'll go over on my main channel. So I'm going to try and use that to promote this channel, but obviously these videos have to come first. So next couple of videos on this channel for like the next week or so, unless of course there's some big NBA news that interrupts it. A Ben Simmons trade might be on the horizon, but then again, it has been for a fucking like 2 months now. Regardless, unless anything like that happens, this video is coming out. Next one's going to be Rookie of the Year, then Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Coach of the Year, Most Improved Player, all that kind of stuff. So with that said, the first one that I'm going to talk about, of course, as you can tell, you can read the title, is the MVP award race and who I think will win the award. Now, I'm not necessarily going to come away with some concrete answer by the end of this video. I'm really just going to talk out loud on my thoughts of the case for a couple of different players here, and I just wrote down on my notes app a couple of different names just so that I don't forget anybody, though I'm sure there'll be some people who think that I forgot somebody, and maybe I even did, but for the most part, I think these are the important noteworthy names. And actually, of the names, the first two that I put down were not names. It was the Nets and the Lakers, and just really the reason I put them in that group is because I don't think either of those teams will have an MVP on them. In the case of the Nets, I feel like the rule of like the 2017 and 2018 Warriors that we kind of all agreed on, that was you can't have like two players who on the same team who are arguably the best player in the league together and are arguably the best player on the team, and like it's very clear that this team is like crazy good, and even if this player doesn't play that great, another player will step up. Like basically, if the team is too damn stacked, your odds of winning MVP are not particularly high, and I think that same rule applies here with the Nets and everybody on that roster. Kevin Durant, James Harden, obviously Kyrie Irving. I think Kyrie, under the perfect circumstances, could be an MVP candidate, but he's of course not going to win that when everybody and their mother knows that he is the third best player on his team. On the Lakers, Russell Westbrook was not going to be in the MVP discussion, but LeBron, I think in the regular season, is going to be taking a serious backseat. I've said a couple of times now, I think LeBron will be the most off-ball and passive version of himself that we have seen in his entire career, with Russell Westbrook there in the regular season, and will turn it up come playoff time. I think the LeBron is chilling for the regular season thing will only be ramped up even more than it has been for the past like decade of his career, basically. And Anthony Davis, I just don't think, I think if anyone of these two teams has a chance of winning the award, it's probably Anthony Davis, because I think he's going to be the player who is most impactful in terms of their regular season success, even though I think LeBron is better than him. And in the regular season, there's a very real chance Anthony Davis ends up performing better. At the same time, the understanding that LeBron is probably better is going to hold him back from that conversation, as well as the fact that I just simply don't believe he will put up numbers that are that far more reaching outside of what he's already done before in LA, and those weren't enough to really put him in the MVP conversation either, so I don't think he'll be there. Next on the list is Giannis, and I think Giannis has a genuine shot at winning another MVP award because, of course, we're all high on the Giannis train right now, and I think part of the reason why he wasn't really in contention for Giannis for MVP last year was that he had already won 2 in a row, and we were kind of down on Giannis because he'd been disappointing in the postseason 2 seasons in a row, and not recency bias, what's the word, voter fatigue is a thing. So they're like, are we giving Giannis that award 3 years in a row, even if there's a case to be made that he played just as well as Jokic last season? In fact, he probably did, and his team did win more, but like, we weren't going to give Giannis that award, so maybe I think now, after he went on the finals run that he did, and people are a lot more high on Giannis, I think his shot at actually winning this award is relatively high, and he's definitely among the top of my list of candidates. Speaking of the devil, Nikola Jokic, I don't think is going to win back-to-back MVPs. I think once Jamal Murray gets healthy, the Nuggets are genuinely a contender next year, or at least whatever that really means, because I don't think anyone's beating the Nets, but you know, the tier below the Nets, whatever contender that makes you. So the Nuggets, I think, will be fine. But I don't know that Jokic is going to win that award, especially considering how underhyped Jokic was to win this MVP. Jokic had one of the best offensive seasons ever, and probably arguably the best offensive season, not scoring, offensive seasons that a big man has ever had. But like, no one gives a shit, and I feel like that energy is going to apply again. And if there are better candidates this year, which there should be with players being more healthy, that's probably going to keep him out of this conversation. Steph, of course, is a name that's always being mentioned in this ever since Kevin Durant lost the first year. He got injured that season, and then last season, of course, he was good, but the team was not good enough. This time around, the Warriors should hopefully be good enough with Klay Thompson returning around Christmas, which is 2 months into the season. And I think he's another one of these names that I think is very high up on my list in terms of potentially winning this award, because if he is great, which I think he will be, and the Warriors are really good, which I think they can be, though I think some people have just slotted them in as like definitely a contender when like there's a reason to believe maybe it's not so simple. But if the Warriors can be a top 3 seed in the conference and Steph can put up similar numbers of what he did last year or the 2016 season, which are 2 of the best offensive seasons of all time, yeah, he has a real shot at the MVP award, and I'd slot him in there with Giannis as my top 2 candidates right now going down this list. Luka Doncic. Luka, a lot of people hyped him up to win the MVP last season going into the season, me included. I believe I made a video on why he would win MVP. It was either him or Steph. I made that video. Either way, there were some of my top candidates. The Warriors obviously suck too much, but thing about that is I don't think the Mavericks really got better this offseason. I mean, Reggie Bullock is cool, but not really that much of a difference maker. My opinion on Kristaps Porzingis is extremely low as a player, and I don't think the Mavericks are really going to be any higher than like a 4 seed max. Probably a 5 or a 6 seed realistically. So I just don't think the Mavericks are going to win enough for Luka to win an MVP, even if he obviously is going to put up MVP numbers. He can put up 30, 10, and 10 without much problem. So Luka will have the numbers. I don't think he will have the wins. Joel Embiid. This is interesting because, of course, he was the front runner to win MVP before he got hurt. But the Sixers are in an interesting predicament right now, as you'll see by looking at this channel and seeing that damn near every video is talking about Ben Simmons. What roster the Sixers actually go into next season with could be interesting, and the questions about that, I do believe, make him a bit of a wild card, because if he's so great that it works them through the rough waters ahead, not necessarily like basically what we're going to get with the Sixers next year is entirely up in the air, and how Embiid steers the ship could determine how likely his chances of winning the MVP is. Because if he plays great and the Sixers end up being good, then yeah. If he plays great and the Sixers still end up being bad, then no. It's really as simple as I just don't know what the situation around him is going to be, but he can put up the numbers and impact winning in such a way that he could definitely put himself in this conversation. I just really don't know where he stands because I don't know where the Sixers stand. One name on here that I find interesting that I put down is Jason Tatum. I think next year the Celtics are going to be a lot better than they were last year, and I think the Jason Tatum hype train has really started to take off, and one element of his game really started to become more impactful last year, and that was playmaking. I believe last year Tatum averaged like 4.5 assists per game, but there were games towards the end of the season where he was consistently getting like 7 of those things, while also being a really good rebounder and a guy who can average 26 points per game on crazy efficiency. So you get him out there averaging 27, 7, and 7 on good efficiency. That's a LeBron stat line. That's like LeBron's career numbers, while also being one of the most underrated wing defenders in the league, and definitely a very good defender. And the Celtics end up being a top 3 seed in the conference, which I think is well within the realm of possibility. That's definitely a real shot at the MVP award, I think. And I think he has a better case than some might expect going into next year. That said, he's not among my top candidates. Damian Lillard, this is kind of a similar situation to Luka, where he's going to put up big numbers, but team's not going to be good enough. I don't think they're going to be a top seed in the conference. And then another name for a fringe guy. I have two more fringe guys here, and that is Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks and Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz. Trae is interesting because the Hawks were a lot better of a team the second half of the season because of the coaching change. And then, of course, they went on that run to the conference finals that surprised everybody. So I could see a world where the Hawks actually are like in the, are they maybe a contender conversation? And they're like the third seed in the conference behind the Bucks and the Nets. And Trae puts up Trae numbers, which are crazy. And he's in the conversation. Now, I don't think he would get it, but I think he can be in the conversation. A similar thing with Donovan Mitchell. If Donovan Mitchell played in the regular season like he does in the playoffs, then he'd be an MVP already. But if he, ramps up his regular season play, as he has pretty much every year, if you look at it, Donovan Mitchell's numbers have improved in some respect or another pretty much every season of his career. Not always by huge leaps and bounds, but he's pretty much always getting better. And the fact that the Jazz will be a top team, I think, here's the thing. Maybe he should be in the conversation, but realistically, being that he wasn't last time, that's probably not going to happen. I actually should mention the Clippers. Kawhi's not going to play most of next season, if not all of it. And as good as Paul George is, I don't think he's going to lead the Clippers to a top record in the conference, even if maybe he gets some what season is it? Or what am I trying to think of? An example of like a player is really, really good, but the team's not that great, so they get some sympathy and they get like the third place vote, but not winning the award. I don't think there's anybody else that I'm neglecting to mention. If I am, then I am sorry, but I think I've covered most of my bases among the league's top players. I think for the most part, my top candidates for this award are Giannis and Steph. I think Embiid would be in that conversation if the Sixers end up being good. And I think Jason Tatum might actually have a better case than you might expect. But regardless, Giannis and Steph right now are probably my top picks for that award. I really nailed this recording session. You should drop a like on this video because that was a good performance by me. Let's be real. Anyways, yeah, that is it. Goodbye.